The Treasurer delivering a speech to business leaders. There's so much talk, of course, around the cost when you talk to nationals and people reluctant to act more on climate change. Josh Frydenberg saying, well, there's going to be a cost in not acting.
Tom, good afternoon to you. Yes, Josh Frydenberg, the Treasurer, is certainly laying the groundwork here. He talks specifically about the cost to our economy, the practicalities and the realities. The fact that our economy is dependent on foreign money markets and foreign investment. He talks about what is happening now is very similar to the Industrial Revolution and also the change towards the digital economy. His point is that those foreign money markets are very risk adverse. They're worried about being overexposed to climate change. And if they don't see nations and economies trying to act, trying to change, they're not wanting to invest in those nations. And that simply will drive up the cost of almost everything.
Reduced access to these capital markets would increase borrowing costs, impacting everything from interest rates on home loans and small business loans to the financial viability of large infrastructure projects. Australia has a lot at stake. We cannot run the risks that markets falsely assume that we are not transitioning in line with the rest of the world.
Now, Tom, the great thorn in the coalition's side on this issue has always been the position of the National Party. And Barnaby Joyce was on Breakfast Radio this morning making the point that he's not opposed to the idea of net zero emissions, but he doesn't want to see regional areas picking up the cost for this.
You do support net zero by 2050?
I've got no problems with any plan that does not leave regional areas hurt. You know, any plan we have, it's got to look at the holistic, economic, industrial, the capacity of people to be left in the same standard of living as what you had before. And that's one of the things I'll be looking at.
You know, Barnaby, I have every confidence. He's not, seeking handouts in other ways. He is, as he said publicly this morning,
really?
seeking us to implement policies.
You don't think he's looking for
Laura,
a price here?
As he said this morning, he's seeking us to do this in ways that protect jobs across Australia, especially in regional areas.
So, Jonathan, what has the Prime Minister had to say about this?
Well, the Prime Minister, as we know, Tom, is currently overseas in Washington. He's been meeting foreign dignitaries and leaders. He's also been talking about what's going to be discussed with members of the Quad. He says that climate change is certainly going to be on the agenda, a leading topic on the agenda. He was asked, though, whether Australia had quietly decided on the sidelines to support net zero emissions by 2050.
No, if Australia had made such a decision, I would have announced it. And Australia has not made any final decision on that matter, and we're still, and will be considering further when I return to Australia. The plan, that plan recognises that the world is transitioning to a new energy economy in order to respond to climate change. That is the global reality.
What we do know, though, Tom, is that the clock is ticking when it comes to that Glasgow conference, the UN summit on carbon emissions and reducing emissions. It's now 6 weeks away. Our government is expected to announce a plan in the lead up to that, Tom.
Yeah, so well and truly ticking the work going on. Jonathan, thanks.